Hello, and welcome back to my Therapist Plays Disco Elysium analysis series. So, I recently gave like a full deep dive analysis on Kuno and Kuno S. I'll leave the link to that video in the description to this one. And there we talk about the psychology of growing up in the world of Martinez and what that does to a developing child. So I encourage you to check that out for context if you're interested. But on today's episode, we're continuing the playthrough and we're on this very thin line with Kuno. We're trying to maintain his trust in us because we feel like there is some opportunity for us to help him, but the things that Kuno wants us to do to get him to trust us may go against some of our ethics and morals. So it's a very tricky situation. And we're actually going to see what it looks like to put someone who, in our role play, is recovering from addiction right up to several high-risk scenarios which may put him at risk for relapse. So I'm going to be giving you some of my professional experience on working with troubled youths like Kuno, as well as some of the psychological conflicts that someone who's working through an addiction is likely to face. There's lots to break down in this one, so let's get into it. Okay, we're back. It's time to continue with the most important thing in this entire world. Saving this young, hopeful gentleman. Snap out of it, Kuno. You fucking snap out of it. Snap out of it, Kuno. Don't snap out of it, Kuno. Okay, you're on the verge of something great here. So, what were we doing with Kuno? Let's see.
Fuck does Kuno care?
He doesn't care.
Kuno doesn't fucking care.
Yes, you do, Kuno. You care because I care. Okay, so I believe we have the opportunity to go check out his apartment, so we can take down Kuno's dad. We can get speed, give it to Kuno, which we're not going to do. I'm getting blasted with light here. Okay, so we are not going to give any speed to Kuno, but maybe we should get that speed, because you never know if it'll be useful in some other avenue. So I'm going for the speed. Okay. Well, it looks like Kuno's got a little bit of money. Look, normally I wouldn't take it, but we did just spend all of our money getting the book for Kuno, so look, you gotta repay us back somehow, buddy. I'll take a little bit of your money and just a little bit of your speed. Oh, the speed's in his apartment. Okay. Well, I kind of assumed this was his apartment, but what is it? Flat 12? Okay, let's go there. Now, haters, aka Kib, would say that this is a waste of our personal time and a waste of vital police resources. But he would be wrong, okay? Nothing is more important than repairing the youth of this world right now. Okay, so flat number 12. Where is this?
A shabby door hangs oddly on its hinges, secured to the doorframe with a safety chain. An unpaid energy bill is attached, threatening to cut off the electricity. It's addressed to Mr. Uno Doroita.
Okay.
The heartbeat quickens, palms go sweaty. The siren of amphetamine is singing you her song.
We can smell the amphetamines and bad parenting. Looks like we found where Kuno's dad lives.
And the place comes with 3 months' worth of utility bills.
Ooh, okay, so we can use the cutters on the chain. Do I still have those? Yes. Well, I may need the crowbar for self-defense, but I can't put the flashlight down. Because I want to blast him. Look, he's... if he's on amphetamines, there's a good chance that he is. we're gonna need to disorient him before we go with another amazing flying kick like we did with Measurehead. So I'll go in with bolt cutters, and then I'll blast him with the flashlight. That'll do it.
A shabby door hangs oddly on its hinges, secured to the doorframe with a safety chain. An unpaid energy bill is attached, threatening to cut off the electricity. It's addressed to Mr. Uno Doroita.
83%. Fucking do it.
It should be easy, but it's just an awkward angle, okay? The door doesn't really open wide enough to really get the cutters through. You can't get the leverage you need, and the cutters are blunt. And the chain is just super strong.
What? This is just bullshit.
It's not your fault you can't cut it.
I love that interfacing is like, don't worry, don't worry. Like, it's trying to protect my ego. It's an easy check. I rolled a fucking snake eyes, critical failure. That is actually unbelievable. Well, what now? What the fuck am I supposed to do?
Trouble with the chain, officer?
Don't chide me, Kim. He's looking for any opportunity he can to sabotage what I'm doing here. Kim, back off, okay? These are no ordinary chains. They're titanium chains. Supreme titanium, Kim.
Supreme titanium? Sure. The door inside this complex has super hard, super expensive chains.
At the end, look.
You can't stand for that. Come on, show him what you can really do.
Yes, I'm gonna try again. 92%. So my chances have gone up because I've gotten a +1, because I have been insulted by the door and by my partner here. We cannot fail this one.
Snip. So much
Okay.
for that goddamn
That's right.
chain. The links fall to the ground on the other side of the door. You have bested the titanium menace.
Yeah, boy.
Don't let the quiet fool you. The beast is in there somewhere, ready to rip you to shreds with a broken bottle.
Okay, this is where we need to get the crowbar back.
I know there's no stopping you, but let's at least make this quick.
You've got it. All right, crowbar is going back in hand. So far, we have been pretty avoidant of indulging in our own substances. But I think now is the time where I'm going to need maybe a little bit more intellect. Because if I can't beat Kuno's father in a battle of strength, perhaps I can beat him in a battle of wits. Okay. We're going to charge up first. What do I need to do? I forget how to fucking smoke these things. How do I actually use them? Look, I've already been bested by the door, and now I can't figure out how to smoke a pack of cigarettes. Okay, well, it seems like maybe I can't just smoke them whenever I want. So we'll just get the crowbar back out. We'll blast off on fucking magnesium, get our health going, and fucking just go for it. All right. Kim, back me up. Where's he at? What do we got? Oh, maybe he's actually not in here. What do we got? A book? Cash. We got money?
A phone book lies open on the table, covering a stack of utility bills. Right next to it, in plain sight, sits a small bottle of amphetamine, conveniently equipped with a straw.
Lieutenant, I've located a psychoactive substance on this table.
Good. Confiscate it.
The minuscule amount of amphetamine doesn't interest the lieutenant in the slightest. He listens instead to something in the other room.
Grab it.
Pocket the bottle as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Don't wait. Celebrate. Blast that shit right here. Take inventory of it once this boring table shit is done.
Interesting.
Blast it before you face the beast. Deruita. You're going to need the encouragement.
Okay, I'm gonna step out of the room so that we don't have to listen to Kuno's dad snoring, because I wanted to talk a little bit about like, okay, so many relapses are what we might call a relapse of opportunity, meaning that people are often waiting for the right opportunity or the right context to relapse on something, right? It's not always planned, although sometimes it is, right? Some perspectives take that there's like a couple of stages to a relapse. Basically, like there's something called an emotional relapse where the person is not thinking about using drugs. In fact, they may actively not want to return to them, but they start having behaviors that will indicate a relapse, a potential relapse is coming. So that's like isolation from others, attending less like AA groups or talking to their sponsor, stop talking to their therapist, starting to bottle up their emotions. These are the signs that someone has already entered the threshold of a potential relapse. So like we think of relapse as being something that happens in a single moment, but it actually tends to happen like weeks, if not months in advance of the actual physical relapse. So emotional relapse, there's a lot of avoidant, isolated behaviors happening. And then there's the mental relapse. So this is where someone starts actually thinking about, okay, what would it look like if I were to use again, right? Bargaining comes into the picture. Well, what if I just use once? What if I can control it better this time? I've gotten lots of coping skills. What if I just use it to celebrate, right? Those slippery slope rationalizations typically start the process of leading to an actual relapse. So when I said like relapse of opportunity, someone who's still struggling with their sobriety is definitely, if not weeks and months in advance, in moments like this, they're going to start looking for those justifications. Exactly like electrochemistry, I believe it was electrochemistry just said, like, you should take this because it will help you fight Kuno's dad, right? Like, the thing is if you were not in the mental relapse stage of a relapse, that thought wouldn't come to you. But it's likely that my character has already done some of the bargaining, kind of like I did earlier when I was like, "Hey, look, we should go get the speed. We're not going to use it. We're going to save it. There might be an opportunity to use it, right?" Even if it's not intentional, there are often subconscious behaviors and patterns that lead to that moment of opportunity. And so while we have been trying to keep ourselves sober and we've been doing well at that, I think for the role play purposes, it actually makes a lot of sense for our character to slip up here. And oh man, look at the benefits. Motorix? What is that even? All right, hand-eye coordination, get in a fight, perception. Look, we've got to do detective work here. Reaction speed. I mean, this guy could be on some sort of stimulant himself. You know, he may just come at us swinging, sneaking under their noses. I mean, we've got to be stealthy. We've got to be smooth. We've got to be graceful. Interfacing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that, look, I've got a crowbar in my hand. I'm going to need to pry into all sorts of places with it. And composure. I mean, we've got to be able to keep it together. So look, this is the time, okay? I couldn't smoke the cigarette. I don't know why. But this is the time. No, I'm not going to replace it with the flashlight. But this is the time, right? A physical relapse. We also might distinguish between a lapse, which is a single momentary use of a substance, and a relapse, which is a return to a pattern of uncontrollable behavior. So simply by using, that's not to say that our character would
Now
go
that you've acquired
full
some
blown.
stimulants, it's time for a little pick-me-up. Time to detect.
Yes, like even my fake rationalizations, the game is meeting. It's so good at this. You can really tell that, like, it's amazing that even though my idea about, oh, let's pretend we're trying to recover and let's role play the idea of a potential relapse, the game has no idea that I've decided that. And I don't even know if it's like cataloging my behaviors, like how long I've spent with a substance in my inventory before using it. But the fact that exactly what I'm talking about, the rationalization comes into play here, right, is so interesting, like how reactive it is. So what kinds of thoughts might interject in a moments like this, right? Will it make me into a super cop? That's probably what we're wondering. Kim is here, he'll be disappointed. Yes, there is typically an element of guilt and shame after a relapse, but it is usually afterwards, right? Um, Guilt is not always good at being preventative. Like, oh, I will feel guilty if I do this. When you're already in a mental relapse stage, you're actually looking for more of the gaps that you could say, well, maybe he wouldn't find out. Maybe I won't have to feel guilty because he won't find out. Maybe I won't have to feel guilty because I can just lie about it. Like, we wouldn't really be in the preventative mindset of like, oh, I'll disappoint him. Will it make me into a super
It'll
cop?
make you into more than that. A mega cop. This is your modus operandi. This is how you've done it for years. Let's
And
go.
I would say that if our character was internalizing some of the critique of his own self thoughts of like you've become a boring cop, this would be another one of those like relapses of opportunity to um tap into that insecurity about like not being interesting enough, not being a good enough detective, right? And like again, looking for anything I can do to justify using this and telling myself that it's purely utility. This is just for this one time. It's just to fuck Kuno's dad up. Kim won't find out, right? These are the kinds of patterns of thinking. We're probably not thinking about our health because we're thinking it's just going to be a one-time thing. Okay, my body is ready. Let's do this.
You raise the bottle, close a nostril, and inhale furiously. The rush is almost immediate. It tastes bitter and caustic and stings a bit inside your nose.
Good to have you back, Officer Megacop. The world has been
Now the taste is slowly receding into your throat. The rush is growing in intensity, your little heart pounding like a bird in a cage. A sweat breaks out across your brow. Your jaw clenches.
So, stimulants are going to hijack the sympathetic side of my nervous system, which deals with the fight or flight response and heart rate and all kinds of stuff, eye dilation, right? Sweating. It's going to make my body convince itself that it needs to be kind of in attack mode.
Whoa, this shit is strong. This shit is disco.
That's very disco.
Time for a little truth. Tell the lieutenant you did some. Clear the air.
Kim, I did a little speed. I hope you don't mind. It was for professional reasons. I don't know if we'd go with that rationale. Feels great. Are there any downsides? Cool, cool. Let's boogie. Finish the thought and spring into action. We're not going to tell him because it's very likely that we will be hit with a point of shame afterwards.
Spring. Everything is clear around you. You're ready to concentrate on the next task in the task chain.
Okay. Very short-term thinking.
In the bottom right corner of the screen, there's a speed button. Speed gives +1 to motoric skills, perception, reaction speed, hand-eye coordination, savoir-faire, interfacing, and composure. This is good before white check, but damages your morale.
Well, that's not a problem because I've got plenty of magnesium.
Hear that? Magnesium. That's what you're lacking. The lack of
Game
magnesium
every
is
fucking
useless.
time. Every single
The
time.
magnesium levels in your blood are dangerously low. It's about the low magnesium levels and not the high alcohol levels.
I fucking knew it wasn't the alcohol or the other thing. So now that we have consumed a substance, we've gotten away with it. We've seen no immediate consequences yet. It's probably pretty likely that our thoughts would start escalating more into justification, right? sort of justifying that, like, yeah, some of my problems were due to other things, right? Like I was talking about the bargaining. Well, maybe I can control it better now that I have more oversight from Kim, or I care more about the case, or I've learned something about myself, right? Um, so let's go there.
Yeah, the other things. Long live the other things. Made you strong as an ox, they have.
So there's a lack of magnesium in me.
Yes, and it's critical. Look at yourself. You're practically devolving into a fish due to the lack of magnesium in your bloodstream.
I need to mag it up.
You need to get so magged up. You've probably had 2 heart attacks and a minor stroke already.
I gotta
only
get the mag in
prescription
me.
is insane amounts of magnesium.
We've got to mag it
One
up.
stroke. Don't be so modest. He's having one right now.
You're saying I need to become a magnesium-based life form.
Yes. If you want to live, you need to evolve.
Okay.
You need to transcend the carbon barrier. Go to the apothecary and buy insane amounts of magnesium. It will reverse the damage to your circulatory system.
So this type of thought is something we call compensatory behavior or compensatory behavior, right? To compensate. It's another way that we tend to rationalize or justify bad behaviors or unhelpful ones by basically like choosing something that we perceive to be the counteractive to it. So, for example, like in a very small way, well, I worked out a lot today, so I can eat a bunch of garbage, right? It's very compensatory. It doesn't always have to be bad, but it is a very like one-dimensional way of thinking about things, right? And one-dimensional thinking and all or nothing thinking and all kinds of like simple ways of rationalizing things is like the mindset of addiction, right? Because we're looking for whatever path we can take in our minds to either continue the behavior or to minimize the consequences of it, right? Like our composure is basically telling us, well, you can keep doing this and you can counteract the effects of it if you go get this other drug, right? Which could potentially lead to another addiction.
Just remember, it's not the alcohol. Buy more of that too. Alcohol is not the problem.
As a role play, I'm glad we're doing this, but like as a narrative, it's kind of heartbreaking. Like people tend to think that the more time you have sober, the easier it gets, and that's not always the case, right? In fact, there are some unique challenges that some people face much later in their recovery that early in recovery they don't. Um, that's because people also go through stages of recovery, right? They go through like a pure sort of abstinence phase where they have removed the drugs from their life and they're spending time sober, they're repairing their nervous system, they're learning coping skills and that sort of thing. They're practicing abstinence and that's their main focus. People tend to then go into like a repair stage where they're sort of like catching up. They're repairing their finances, relationships, career, health, physical health, mental health. Like they do a lot of work to just catch up. And in some cases, that can be like a lot of intermediate success, and like your self-esteem can be growing in that. And then people come to the growth stage of recovery, which happens several years down the line sometimes, right? Sometimes 2 to 3 years after stopping using. And if repair was about catching up, growth is about building new things, like entirely on top of sobriety. And some of those challenges are really hard, right? Learning new ways to have fun that are alternatives to substance use. Starting to address some of the things that we're missing or unable to be accomplished while in addiction, like building a family or building a career, right? You're not just catching up, but you're trying new stuff. And the pressures of that and the complication of that can be really challenging. So even despite our character doing very well, you can't measure someone's potential for a relapse simply based on the amount of time sober because it's not one dimensional like that. So it's really tragic, but quite realistic.
And it's certainly not the dextroamphetamine,
Definitely not.
nor smoking for 40 years. It's the lack of magnesium
It's,
and
it's gotta
excess
be.
of coffee. You should stop drinking coffee. It wreaks havoc on your gastrointestinal system.
Oh, okay. We got another thought here.
Master investigator, you just can't keep yourself away from locked and hidden places, can you?
What do you mean?
Nothing. You're right. Get in there. Deep. Invade every personal space. Break every lock.
It's my duty as a cop to investigate every square inch of this world. I don't think we genuinely believe that, but we are in a compromised mental state at this point, right? And we've already launched into a justification that this was a part of our civil duty to do this.
Attaboy. The world's secrets were made for you. They wait patiently for you to uncover them.
Let's do that now. All right, Kim. Let's like fucking bust this case wide open. What? Murder? Who cares about that? There's drugs in Revachol. All right, let's fucking do this. Here stinks with something sour. Oh, we got some genes. What do we got on here? Electrochemistry is up. Probably for this, maybe we want. Oh yeah, that's really bad for our savoir-faire. Let's pop those genes on. Johnny Disco's, he's starting to look pretty damn sharp. I mean, he's all color coordinated with his gardening gloves and hobo hat. And it's even got some highlights matching with the shoes. We're feeling confident. We're feeling composed. I'm feeling like a super cop, genuine super cop.
A bundle of clothes heaped on the bed. A stained parka, some towels and a duvet, some socks even.
Hold up, Lieutenant. Look at that pile of clothes. I love how our dialogue has also taken a more commanding tone.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out.
Something underneath there is breathing. It doesn't give a shit that you're a cop. Stop your hand now, or you're gonna die.
Oh, he's waiting under there with a pistol. He's not really asleep. Once he heard us with the chain cutters, he started crafting his scheme.
It's not too late. No one's going to blame you for backing out. You don't have to do this. Just get out.
No. This is for Kuno. This is for fucking Kuno.
Your hand touches a greasy duvet covered in cigarette burns and ketchup stains. You hear a growl. There is something alive underneath.
Pull that shit off.
You see a 60-year-old fat red-headed man passed out from large amounts of alcohol and God knows what else. The smell of shit rises from his mouth. You don't have to take him down. He's already down.
Kim, is this thing even alive? Is this Kuno's father we're seeing?
Well, judging by the color of his hair, I would say yes, it is.
The lieutenant's right. The man's unwashed hair bears a familiar ginger tone. Even the hair on his chest is coppery. The light from the window falls into his half-open eyes.
This is what's going to happen to Kuno if we don't intervene right now.
There's still plenty to be scared of here. Just not what you thought.
I was expecting something worse. That's true, I was. I was expecting him to come out from under the blanket with a pistol ready for me.
I think he's still quite bad. I mean, what he has come to. This man won't be feeding his family anytime soon. Not that he was, but at least he won't be beating his son.
A pair of half-open bug eyes is staring back at you from the dark, empty, and frozen. It's clear that the person behind them is not awake.
He's gonna sleep it off. I know this shit. Hold on, what happened to his
Can't
eyes?
you tell? It happens to exceptionally committed substance abusers. They fall asleep with their eyelids still open. Not a pretty sight.
He's slipping it off. I know this shit. Suddenly, the man starts growling. 3 words manage to escape his mouth, along with a strong stench of alcohol.
Look, he's trying to communicate.
Ooh. 58% on understanding him? I guess we can go for it. It's a red check. I don't have any points for perception. I guess I'm just gonna fucking go with it. What's the harm?
The man groans once
Shit.
again, but his tongue keeps failing him. It's impossible to make out the syllables. A hand emerges from the blankets, trying to gesticulate something, and then falls back again, limp and defeated by sleep. A loud snore escapes his mouth.
Is he even alive?
I'm afraid it is. Look, it moves.
He points to a fleshy lump sticking out from the other end of the blanket.
A groan rises from the man's throat, dry like a death rattle. He's trying to say something in his sleep.
Oh shit, maybe we should have come back and tried the perception check again at some other point. Well, it's too late for that now. I mean, it's not like being on active stimulants would have made me think, yeah, there's a better time for this than right the fuck now. So it's kind of in character. Well, okay. Let's just tell him we took his amphetamines.
Silence. Only heat emanates from the sleeping body.
All right. I guess there's nothing we can do here.
The aging alcoholic is still there, breathing.
Let's see what this does.
We could turn him on his side so he doesn't choke on his own vomit, but he's already on his side.
Nod.
We could take him to Remedy or Saint-Baptiste, but he doesn't have money for medical services. The arm saws would turn him down.
Oh, yeah. Ain't that the truth?
You don't do charity for people who are trying to kill themselves. Besides, he'd be dead in a few.
The pile of blankets grunts miserably.
Okay. Well, I guess he's probably gonna... This is probably gonna be his fate. Well, I guess there wasn't really anything we could do here. I thought we were gonna have to bust this guy up or something. But maybe we can't. What do we got in here? Oh! Magnesium! And some alcohol. Okay, so that was probably not what our character would have expected to find coming in here. We can report back to Kuno. Let's do that. Because we just took a bunch of amphetamines and relapsed literally to prepare ourselves for a fight that didn't happen. So now is when the guilt and shame and anger start coming into play. Let's march our way back to Kuno. Let's report. All right, Kuno.
Fuck does Kuno care?
I took care of the drug situation. Well, that's technically true.
Alright, so you got Kuno's kilo. Here is how we do it. First, give Kuno Kuno's kilo, then Kuno gives you half back. That's
No.
how we split it. It's the best way. Street way.
By kilo, you mean gram, right? So just because we had a relapse doesn't mean like every bit of character development we've done up until this point has gone away, right? We're still deeply invested in the idea that we did that only so that we could face off against Kuno's dad, which we were there to do because we feel very protective of Kuno. And I am curious what he thinks about like how we got past him. Aren't you going to ask?
Word on the street is, you sent your little friend in dressed as a hooker, distraction style. That's some sick shit.
Okay.
Not a single muscle moves on the lieutenant's face.
I don't think we did that.
Kuno wants to hear all about it, but first we split the kilo, then we shoot the shit.
I'm keeping it. You don't need more drugs. You're 12. I can't give Kuno the drugs. I just can't do it.
Alright. Kuno knew you tried that sneaky pig shit on him.
Tell him, Kuno.
Kuno's got brains. This shit doesn't surprise Kuno. So Kuno's gonna give you one more chance. Know this, pig. Shit is major.
Man, we're on such thin ice with Kuno. I don't want to break this very fragile bond that's forming between us.
Major fucking choice, pig.
Kuno won't take this shit lightly. The pieces are moving, pig. This is fucking domino shit.
I don't want to get outplayed by a 12-year-old.
Not like he thinks, but you can feel it. Somehow, this will change things.
I don't care. Hopefully for the better.
It's not hard to see at all. You hand out drugs to kids. The lieutenant's faith in your judgment will diminish significantly.
Absolutely. What, if any, is the downside of not giving drugs to Kuno? We're not even going to ask. I'm not giving him the drugs. Well, I guess we could ask.
None that you can see. No, you can see it. This young man has junior officer material in him. In another life, where he trusts you.
Holy shit! Can we make Kuno into a cop?
Tick, 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 tick. Decision time. What's it gonna be? You gonna fuck the Kuno?
I guess I'm gonna fuck the Kuno by not giving him drugs and giving him a better opportunity for his life. If that means fucking the Kuno, then I will fuck you up, kid, with a future. The vial's staying with me.
All right. You fucked the Kuno. Everybody, Kuno got fucked by his pocket pig. Just when we getting our business on, the pig throws it all away.
Kuno! Wait. Could I only make him into a cop if I gave him the drugs? This is a little confusing. What, if any, is the downside of not giving them? This young man has junior officer material in him. In another life where he trusts you. So I had to give him the drugs for him to trust me? To make him a cop?
I told you he can't be trusted. I told you. I told you he'd steal the shit.
That's such a complicated choice, like, to make. I fucking love that the game puts it that way. Like, there's no real good solution here. Either I give him the drugs and get his trust and maybe make him into something better, but I can't extend my morals into that area for that. Like, neither personally or as a role play.
Relax, see? We got plenty of Kilo underground, in the tree. This ain't about that.
Fuck!
This is about you and Kuno. You mismanaged this shit. Now everything is fucked between us. Again. How are you gonna make this up to the Kuno, huh? Kuno believes in second chances. Kuno doesn't believe in third chances.
In truth, Kuno doesn't really believe there's anything you can do to make up for this. The damage is irreparable.
You know what? If this is how it has to be, then so fucking be it. I cannot give him the drugs. I looked around in there. It's not the easy life. Maybe we can appeal to him emotionally somehow. There's got to be something in there, Kuno.
The fuck do you know about Kuno's life? Kuno's got plans. Get the fuck out of here.
No, this is so painful.
Yeah, we got plans.
6 meters underground, below piping from before the war, the collapsed remains of the Martinez storm drain system. There are 2 stolen flashlights with piles of batteries next to them, beside 2 bedrolls, in the dark and opening into the lower tunnels.
Their lives are so tragic. Kuno, I met your dad.
How the fuck are you still alive, pig?
Oh my god, he thinks that Kim was the... Wow. was dark in there. We sneaked in and got out. Kuno, your dad is a half-dead alcoholic. He was sleeping under some clothes. I killed your dad, Kuno. I think at this point, my genuine approach would just to be honest with him. Like, I don't know. I would try to appeal to the part of him that knows his, like, bravado as a facade.
What?
His posture changes. The swaying rooster motion stops for a second. Then he gets it going again, reorienting himself.
Wait, he's like genuinely surprised by
Fuck
that.
right. Kuno's dad was sleeping like a bum. Kuno told ya. Kuno's dad doesn't give a shit about anything. Fucking breaking and entering shit. That's nothing to Kuno's dad. You got lucky, pig. Kuno knew this. Kuno's fucking violent fiend dad's been drinking hard lately. Kuno knew you have a way in. Narrow window. Kuno window.
Sorry, it's just hilarious. Stop acting tough, kid. You don't have to be scared of him anymore.
Kuno's not fucking trying to be tough. This shit is real. Kuno's fucking violent dad's gonna be a vegetable. Kuno knows that shit. Stroke shit. Stomach fucked up, and Kuno's gonna go out like that too. Gonna be just like Kuno's violent dad. Speed shit, crime shit, fucking on the bed.
No.
Go out West Revachol style.
No.
Stop saying all this sad shit, Kuno.
Wow, even Kuno S is like breaking from this. This is so genuinely heartbreaking. I have no idea where this is going.
There's a touch of grief in there.
Fuck you talking sad? Kuno's got hard shit, death shit, nothing shit.
Kuno, no. You don't have to turn into
Get
that.
your fucking nun-ass out of here before Kuno fucks it dead. You think 'cause you took Kuno's speed, Kuno's gonna sub like a turn into... Kuno ain't turning into shit. Kuno is that shit.
He's in that window, the Kuno window of like his anxiety is probably above the processing zone.
If he doesn't stop soon, he's going to collapse from exhaustion. He's red all over.
He's panicking.
Kuno won! Oh, you won, Kuno!
The little hat jumps up and down behind the fence.
He did not win. There is a crack in there now, and it's spreading across the face of his certainty.
There's something there. We have to be able to solve this with Kuno. I don't want my faith to be crushed so easily. There were tons of unpaid utility bills in there.
Fuck right there were. Fucking 3 years or some shit.
That's no place to live in. You have to find somewhere else.
That's right. It's a shithole. Kuno's gonna move underground. Leroy shit. Ancient shit. Kuno's gonna live in a fucking catacomb.
Yeah, in a tomb, Kuno!
What? I did right not to give you the drugs. Guess that's all we can do.
That didn't change shit, pig. That only made things worse. Fucking social worker shit. It doesn't work, pig.
It doesn't work, Kuno. Only our shit works.
I'm so sorry, Kuno and Kuno S. The fucking world has failed you. And it's made it impossible for you to feel like there's any other opportunity for you. You know, one of the hardest things that I have to deal with in my work is there's a certain amount of buy-in that you need to ask of people, right? People like, let's say, Kuno, or someone who's like been living like Kuno and is even older. The more entrenched these ideas that the system is wrong, that there is no one there to help them, that there's no opportunities for them, that only their shit works, right? The more entrenched they are in that idea, the harder it is to buy into my version of what help looks like. When I find clients who have been totally failed by the system and they've been abused by the system, and their trauma has not been addressed, but in fact made worse. For me to tell them, first of all, like, I have no other motive than to help you by working with you on some of this, they have to buy into that idea. And let's say that they do. Then I start coming in with, like, this is the coping skill that works in this situation. They have to buy into that idea. As deep as my ideas can go about, like, these are the cognitive distortions, these are the defense mechanisms, this is what a schema is, like, this is what a relapse look like, this is what a relapse looks like, this is what the stages of recovery are, like, all of these things, all of this knowledge, all of this professional experience I have, it requires buy-in from a person to feel like it's going to work for them. And that means relinquishing their own ideas and buying into mine, which is so difficult, right? Like, I genuinely struggle with this all the time. Like, this is genuinely one of the hardest parts about being in a helping role, especially in the addiction space. It's especially a roadblock when, like, I'm confronted with the idea of, like, well, have you been in recovery? Have you been an addict? Right? How can you speak with any kind of authority about what my recovery should look like if you haven't been through recovery? Right? Like, I have to get them to buy into the idea that because I haven't lived through that doesn't mean I don't know how to work through it, right? Or help someone work through it. I need to get them to buy into the idea that, like, I'm not even trying to be an expert on their recovery. I'm trying to teach them how to be an expert on their own life and addressing their behaviors, right? Sometimes I'm, like, teaching a class or something, and I'll pull out, like, a statistic or something that's been well researched, and I'll get, like, someone who says, well, I don't agree with that, right? And it doesn't matter how factual or well studied the idea is, or how sound the evidence is. Like, you're not up against pure rationality. You're up against, like, are they willing to buy into what you're telling them is relevant to them, right? And this event here is how a lot of that starts. The next time Kuno meets a cop, regardless of whether they are able to help him or not, he's going to assume that they're not. He's going to assume that they were trying to fuck him like we fucked him, right? And the amount of buy-in to get rid of that idea and assume that someone in a position of authority can actually be a helper is, like, so hard to overcome. And it's moments like this that create that issue, right? That's genuinely why one of the main therapeutic styles that I use is narrative therapy, because sometimes, like, an approach will require me to provide a lot of psychoeducation about why it works, right? So if I'm using, like, dialectic behavioral therapy, DBT stuff, I'm asking someone to buy into the idea that interpersonal effectiveness, mindfulness, distress tolerance, and like, crisis management are the fundamental skills to develop a sound set of coping strategies, right? For the average person who's, like, not in addiction and is willfully entering therapy, like, the buy-in is very low. They're willing to accept that these are well practiced techniques and that it's applicable to them, right? And that it's effective for them. For the person who is not willfully entering this process, like someone like Kuno down the line, right? They're thrown into the system and they're put in front of someone like me who's like, hey, I'm here to work with you on this. I have to ask them to buy into, like, yeah, interpersonal effectiveness, like, here's what it is, here's what it means. Mindfulness. Imagine me trying to talk with Kuno about mindfulness and breathing exercises, and he would say, like, Kuno doesn't fucking care about that bullshit breathing shit, right? Like, he's not going to buy into that. And so narrative therapy is great from my perspective because there's so much less to buy into. What you're working with is not a system that's already been established and researched and studied and is practiced, right? You're working with the person's narrative, like his life story, right? It's less top down, as in here's the system and here's how it applies to you, but bottom up. We go in with where you're at right now, the psychological dynamics that have crafted your perception of yourself and your narrative, and we work up from there, right? And it's a lot more work because you don't start off assuming any skill set is relevant to them. You're doing a lot of like bottom up investigation from their narrative. And I found that you don't really need to get people to buy into their own storyline. It's their own life story. And I'm not there to like interpret it for them and say, no, you actually experienced it this way, right? A lot of it is listening to how they tell the story and being a mirror to show them parts of the story that are deserving of their reinvestigation, right? It's a lot more facilitating the process than leading it in that sense. And so I found that for the people who it's especially hard to get in to buy into all of the stuff that we're asking of them, that like, first of all, you need this help. Second of all, I'm capable of providing that help. And third of all, you're capable of succeeding from it. Like, that's a lot of stuff they need to buy into. You kind of circumvent that when you say, okay, we're going to start with just this person's storyline. Just tell me about yourself, right? You need a little bit of early rapport with that, and I've talked about compliance momentum and how that can be used to get people to talk to you. But that's what I've found, genuinely, is not trying to interject with theory or practice or things that require a significant amount of trust in the person to just go along with, and starting from a place that they don't really need to buy into to begin with, and then branching out from there, because in that process you will develop some rapport, and then at some point I can maybe convince you that like, all right, well, now that we've established that this is the narrative that has defined your life, right? Let's explore this part of it and see if there's not another way to view this situation. Let's see if there is another way to look at your life in Martinez as, let's see if there's not another way to view, for example, like whether or not you have worth as a human, because your narrative tells you, based on how your father and everyone else in the world treats you, that you have no personal value, right? We would look for the storyline that says a lot of Kuno's personal value comes from basically saving Kuno S's life, giving her someone to bond with, and someone that he can sort of share in the experience of being completely disenfranchised, right? Like Kuno did that. Whether he intended to do it that way or not, narrative therapy isn't about like convincing someone that something is better than it is. It's about finding the parts of the narrative that are missing, that you're not tapping into as a resource. If Kuno doesn't feel like he has a lot of self-worth because of the way he's treated as a child, then he's not looking at the full story, right? And I don't need to get him to buy in to what I just said. Like, he knows that's what he did for Kuno S. She knows that's what he did for her. I'm not going to try to convince him that's some other thing. It's just he hasn't favored that storyline. He's favored the one that tells him, yeah, there is no one good to me in the world. And so what reason do I have to be good back to it? It doesn't work, Kuno. Only our shit works. That's like the fucking line that defines exactly what I'm talking about. Don't buy into this pig shit. That didn't change shit. It only made things work. Fucking social workers. It doesn't work. It's sadly something that I do encounter, and the game didn't give us all of the tools to handle that. Probably because it's really hard to, and our guy's just not equipped to do that, right? Even think of Harry and how much he's had to buy into, right? There's a lot of resistance that comes when you're asked to buy into something like, for example, Kim's way of doing things. We want to be the super cop. We want to take drugs and, kind of brute force our way through things, use our authority. And the rapport we've built with Kim, the trust we've built with him, has lowered our resistance to buying into the idea that a little more composure and a little more thoughtfulness can be a good substitute for brute force. So the more rapport you have with someone, the more you trust them, the easier it is to buy into whatever they're putting in front of you. And we didn't earn Kuno's trust here, unfortunately.
She tries to bind their fates together. She needs him. Bad.
Okay. I guess that's all we can do. I guess that's all we can do.
Kuno doesn't fucking care.
Okay, Kuno. Okay.
Jamais vu. Derealization. Jamais vu. The opposite of déjà vu. Not already seen, but never seen. Everything that should be familiar appears strange and new, like some half-forgotten day in your childhood. Only now. That's the feeling you've been having. And for who knows how long. You should go and ask Joyce Messier about this. What world are we in? This is a fundamental question.
Interesting, okay. Plus 1 XP for every orb clicked. Jamais vu. Okay. I've never heard of this, so I don't know if that's like a real thing. So let's go ask Joyce about it. All right, I gotta get this out of my head. The situation with Kuno is a little too real and close to my real like work in life that it's hard to know that we didn't succeed here because, you know, that's the reality of the work I do sometimes. Like, it's not always a guaranteed success, and it was hard to understand that that's not always down to your skill level or, you know, how much you invested into the process. Sometimes you are up against way more than you're capable as an individual of handling, at least at the given time. The way I sort of reckon with that is if there is any chance that Kuno has the opportunity to change somewhere else in his life, because he went through this experience with us, there is the potential that he reauthors us in his mind, that this was a person trying to help me. I am glad that they didn't give me those drugs. It is someone that I can look back on and look up to or aspire to. You know, we can only plant the seed. Just like if I have a client who doesn't succeed and relapses or, you know, ends up going back to what they were doing before they started therapy, at some point they may find some progress in that, and it's not like the work we did doesn't matter. So it still matters. At least I think it does. All right, let's go talk to Joyce and then try to find some fucking money, because we got our own problems now to deal with. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, consider giving it a like and letting me know what you thought of it in the comments. You can subscribe to catch the next video here, or you can see things a little bit earlier if you support the channel either through Twitch or Patreon. Links to both of those and the community Discord are in the description. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.